So Bernie Sanders decided to finally hit back against corporatist Democrats who've been smearing him relentlessly. He sent a letter to the Center for American Progress. Now, of course, most of you already know who that is. This is the group that has Neera Tanden as one of their leaders. They basically are the epicenter of establishment Democrat thought. And we don't need to go into all the details of it. I'm pretty sure most of you already know roughly what Center for American Progress is. One of the corporate Democrat media propaganda arms of the Center for American Progress is Think Progress. Now, there was a time when Think Progress hired actual lefties who spoke about stuff that was super important, but as time has gone on, they've shifted massively in the direction of, no, just hire people who are safe. Just hire people who are basically partisan Democrats who will hold their fire on corporate Democrats for the general idea of unity. Like, oh, it's never good to go after anybody on the Democratic side. And then, by the way, they immediately contradict themselves because who will they go after? You guessed it, actual lefties. So, I'm going to read for you some of Bernie's letter here. I'm not going to give you the whole thing. It's pretty long, but you'll get a good sense here. I'm reading you a significant chunk of his letter. Here's what he sent to the Center for American Progress. Dear members of the board of the Center for American Progress and CAP Action Fund, I write to express my deep concern and disappointment, should I be doing this in Bernie's voice? With the destructive role that the Center for American Progress and its affiliated Action Fund arm are playing in the critical mission to defeat Donald Trump. Last week you published an article on Think Progress criticizing me for my appearance and for the income I earn from writing a book. Then, a day later, you published a video that dishonestly attacked me for hypocrisy in my effort to address income inequality in America, a video that was excitedly discussed on many conservative websites. Center for American Progress leader Neera Tanden repeatedly calls for unity while simultaneously maligning my staff and my supporters and belittling progressive ideas. I worry that the corporate money CAP is receiving is inordinately and inappropriately influencing the role it is playing in the progressive movement. I and other Democratic candidates are running campaigns based on principles and ideas and not engaging in mudslinging or personal attacks on each other. Meanwhile, the Center for American Progress is using its resources to smear Senator Booker, Senator Warren, and myself, among others. This is hardly the way to build unity or to win the general election. I will be informing my grassroots supporters of the foregoing concerns that I have about the role CAP is playing. Should your actions evolve in the coming months, I am happy to reconsider what kind of partnership we have. So my first reaction when I heard that Bernie Sanders sent a letter to the Center for American Progress, honestly, was he's naive and this reeks of weakness. Those were the first thoughts I had because I'm going, oh, Bernie. See, Bernie thinks like, oh no, if I just make good enough arguments, I'm going to convince these basically corporatist smear merchants to lay off me and be good with me. And, the nature of a smear is you're not going to appease them because they're smearing you. So it's not like they think the arguments are actually like sound. It's that they're coming to take you out on purpose with malicious intent. So that was my first reaction. And then I read the letter, and when I was done reading the letter, I said, oh no, this isn't naive, this isn't weak. This is Bernie firing a warning shot and saying, basically, he sounds honestly like a mob boss here. And he's like, well, the last line is the thing that I love the most. I'll be informing my grassroots supporters of the foregoing concerns that I have about the role CAP is playing. Should your actions evolve in the coming months, I am happy to reconsider what kind of a partnership we can have. So, in other words, you cross the line one more time, and I'm taking the flamethrower to you. Now, if you lay off, well, maybe we get along, and maybe everything works out for you. But if you come for me one more time, guess what? It's over for you, bitch. Because Bernie, of course, has the grassroots support. I love that. I love that. This is a warning shot. He's saying, listen, I'm not playing around anymore. You guys say, in one breath, you scream, unity! Why can't we unify on the Democratic side? Unity! And then Bernie Sanders leads. He's the front runner on the Democratic side. And all of a sudden, your bitch-ass cries about unity become, oh, but Bernie Sanders, he's got $1 million. What happened, Bernie? I thought you hate the rich. Look at his hair. He's all disheveled. What happened, Bernie? It looks like you're a hypocrite. Again, I go back to the Russell Brand sentiment. He said something along the lines of, paraphrasing here, when I spoke about income inequality when I was poor, they called me bitter. When I speak about income inequality now that I'm rich, they call me a hypocrite. It's almost like they just don't want me to talk about income inequality. And that's exactly what happens with Bernie. Like Bernie, as if people on the left are going to abandon him because he made money from a best-selling book and he's been making $174,000 a year for since the Stone Age, because he's been in the Senate for that long. He's been in Congress even longer. But like, yeah, the guy's going to have some money saved up. But the fact remains he's still one of the poorest members of the Senate. In fact, I think the poorest member of the Senate. And he's been fighting for, raising taxes on the wealthy for a long time. FDR came from a massively wealthy family. Didn't stop him from fighting for average people. Didn't stop him from being one of the best presidents we've ever had in this country. So it's a smear attack. He knows it's a smear attack. His supporters know it's a smear attack. We've seen countless smear attacks. The newest one, or one of the new ones, I should say, is Bernie Sanders is the Donald Trump of the left. Now, and they don't just mean that in terms of like, whatever, stylistically or something, or the ability to just kind of put up his middle finger to the establishment and still win the primary. They don't mean that. They mean it with the most negative connotation possible. They're trying, to attach Trump, Bernie, like with the tax returns, to the point where, people on the left are going to go, well, that's not good. I don't like Donald Trump very much, so I guess I shouldn't like Bernie Sanders very much either. Even though, substantively, when it comes to policy, they couldn't be further apart. Donald Trump is a far-right maniac. Bernie Sanders is a swashbuckling leftist, democratic socialist fighting for what the overwhelming majority of the American people want. So, I'm happy he's doing this. If I was advising Bernie Sanders, now Bernie Sanders is a nicer guy than I am, and that's why he's going about it this way. And he has, on the campaign trail now, he's said a few things here and there, like, oh, I didn't know it was illegal to write a best-selling book, like going after the people who are criticizing him for this. But if I was Bernie Sanders, what I would have told him is, you don't even need to send the letter, dog. You don't even need to send the letter. Because, again, we know that they're trying to smear you. Not just Center for American Progress, corporate media too. Remember the New York Times articles when they were saying, Bernie's sexual harassment, Bernie Sanders campaign. And they left misleading headlines on purpose, trying to leave the impression with people that maybe it was Bernie who was sexually harassing people. Of course it wasn't. Of course those were misleading headlines. And then if you read the entire article, by the bottom of the article, where only like maybe 5% of the people actually read all the way through to, it said, oh yeah, and by the way, there's no indication that Bernie had any idea whatsoever or was ever told that any of these people are doing these terrible things. So, but this is what we're talking about. There were sexual harassment issues in every campaign. Why? Because you get a large enough group of people together, there's going to be every kind of issue because there's a large group of people together. But only one campaign got the articles written about him like that, Bernie Sanders. Why? It's almost like they're trying to shiv his campaign in the side and take him down. I love there was just an article, I think it was in New Yorker magazine. They had the cover, Pete Buttigieg on the front. And Buttigieg has these bright eyes and this smiling face, trying to look like some sort of historic figure who's the hope of the future. And I think the headline was something like, why not Pete? Or, what about Pete? With a question mark. And that says everything about the attacks against Bernie Sanders and the puff pieces towards many of the other Democrats running, the centrist Democrats running, Basically, they're saying to anybody but the swashbuckling leftist, he'll actually shake up the status quo and cut into corporate profits and help average people. We can't have that. How about Pete? Maybe Pete. Why not Pete? We're convinced he's going to basically keep the status quo as is with some tweaks around the edges. So why not this guy? Maybe you should look at this guy. It's desperate and it's gross. So what I would tell Bernie Sanders is, you have to stop trying to appease your critics in any way, shape, or form. Ultimately, I like the letter because of the tone of the letter. It sounds like he's warning them, like, listen, I'm letting you know right now, dog, cut it out or else. So I don't mind the letter, but if I was advising him, I would have told him, no, you don't even need to send a letter. What you need to do is go after him. See, the thing is, and they're going to lie now and say, Bernie Sanders reopening the wounds from 2016. I already saw headlines that said that. I think one was New York Times or Washington Post. And the reality is, no. Bernie is a counterpuncher. That's what he is. He's not the one who's throwing the first punch. You smear him and you smear him and you smear him and you smear him over and over and over and over. And he sits there and he takes it. He says, I'm above it. I'm not going to comment on that. They're going in the gutter. I'm above that. I'm going to focus on policy. You smear him and you smear him and you smear him. And then when he hits back just a little bit, they cry and go, oh, Bernie, why are you dividing the party? Why aren't you fighting for unity, Bernie? You just smeared him for fucking 3 months straight. What are you talking about? You're the ones who are threatening unity. You're the ones who are doing smear attacks. You're the ones who are dividing the party. And he counterpunches, and you cry, uncle? Oh, he's gone too far, sir. He's gone too far. He's responding to your bullshit smear attempts. So everything, listen, I need everybody to understand, it's going to be dishonest to the core. All these articles that you're going to see, all the news segments you're about to see against Bernie Sanders in this primary, they're going to be dishonest to their core. They're going to totally misstate stuff. They're going to try to give you, misimpressions on purpose because here's the reason, guys. They have nothing on him. They don't want him to win because he's actually going to change shit, but they have nothing on him. Nothing at all. So what do you do in a situation like that? I got to take this guy down, but I got nothing on him. What am I going to do? I got to cook something up. So, oh shit, he counterpunched for the first time in the entire election season after we've been smearing him relentlessly. Bernie, how dare you? What about unity, good sir? What about unity? Shut the fuck up, dog. And I'm gonna warn Bernie again, stop trying to appease your critics. The reason you got to this point in the first place is because you keep it real. So there's no reason to, and I think this is the case with what happened with Julian Assange. Julian Assange, is being hunted down by the U.S. government for exposing war crimes with Chelsea Manning, and the leaks go back to 2010. That's what Western governments are going after him for. Embarrassing the deep state, embarrassing the military-industrial complex, exposing war crimes, doing what journalists and reporters are supposed to do. And what did Bernie say about this? Nothing. Is that because Bernie doesn't know? Does he not know? No, he knows. He knows that this is fucked up. He knows that this is wrong. But he's biting his tongue. Why? Well, he doesn't want to maybe piss off or alienate some centrists who are still super mad at Julian Assange for, the leaks on the DNC. So he doesn't want to alienate centrists who still dislike Julian Assange by saying, hey, this is bullshit and this guy should not be behind bars. So I get it. He's playing politics, and him and his advisors are calculated, and they think, look, the best way to go is to just say nothing about it. But Bernie, that's bullshit, man. That's bullshit. You got to this point by keeping it real. So stop strategizing and keep it real. If I was Bernie Sanders, what I would do, and honestly, I'm giving this advice because I always thought if I ever ran for office, this is what I would do. I would brag about not having any strategy advisors. I would say, listen, do I have policy advisors? Of course, because policy is something that's, massively important, and there are people who are experts in certain fields that I'm not necessarily an expert in, so I need to be taught stuff from them. It's educational. So that's super important. I have policy advisors, no doubt, who are experts. Do I have strategy advisors? No. Why? Because I don't care about strategy. This should have nothing to do with strategy. In a world that made sense, you would get, the information on where all of the candidates stand on the issues and what they're going to implement, and you'd make your decision based off of that. So I'm going to try to make that world come to fruition. I don't have any strategy advisors whatsoever, because I don't care about walking on eggshells to try to push the right buttons to maybe get people to like me. Either you like me or you don't like me. So that is what it is. You could like the personality or not like the personality. Whatever, dude. I'm here to tell you about the policies because this is serious business. So what Bernie Sanders should do is say the same goddamn thing. Bernie Sanders should say, listen, I have no strategists, because I don't believe in that. I don't believe in, like, that whole notion is dishonest. Like, oh, I have to come up with a way to try to, walk the line exactly properly in order to win. No, I treat this seriously. I'm not going to look down on the American people. I'm not going to try to, finagle my way into the White House. No, I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm for, and you could choose whether you like it or not. And, I don't have any strategy advisors because strategy is irrelevant. What's relevant is policy, so I'm just going to tell you what my beliefs are, and you can decide. But no, Bernie does have strategists, and I think that almost all the time, Democratic strategists overthink it. And that could be what we're seeing with that. But either way, I'm happy Bernie is finally at this late date recognizing that indeed there is a civil war. The people who say there's not a Democratic civil war, they're just not being honest. Like, that's the thing. You could try, I'm all about unity, so I don't want to acknowledge that and act like it's not real. Okay, but you're being delusional. It's real. It's real. There is a Democratic civil war. So why not just be honest about it? And why not just say up front, like, listen, what side are you on, people? Are you on the side of, I'm going to do everything to fight for the people and improve everybody's lives? Because that's the side that Bernie's on. That's what the left is all about. Medicare for all, free college, living wage, end the wars, Green New Deal. List goes on and on. Legalize marijuana, end the drug war, and free nonviolent drug offenders. That's what we're about, son. That's what we're about. So what side are you on? Are you on the side that actually wants to help people? Or are you on the slimy, sleazy, smarmy, centrist, establishment, corporatist, status quo defending side? Because those are the sides. So you can choose. And I never liked the strategy of, like, pretending, as Bernie Sanders does, and many others who are on the right side of this do. Many Justice Democrats do it. Keep it real. They do it. They do it. They're fighting for the right issues, but then in the next breath, they'll pretend like Nancy Pelosi is their fucking ally or something. No. Now, you don't need to unnecessarily cross lines and throw the first punch. No. But you damn well better counterpunch. And you damn well better be effective with it and keep it real. So I like that he's finally starting to recognize that there is a Democratic civil war. You're not going to, by shoving your head in the sand, you're not going to change that. The only way you're going to change that is to acknowledge it and win. And that's what you should be in the process of doing. And they're not going to stop, Bernie. They're not going to stop. They were just smearing you the other week for taking a position that literally 80% of Americans agree with. And even the people who were smearing him over this agreed with him. That's the hilarious part. I'm talking, of course, about Bernie saying he's not for totally open borders. Wow, as if that's a scandal. Every national politician in the country is on that side. The American people, again, 80% want to have borders. Now, the left-wing position that makes sense is, yeah, we're going to have borders, but we're also going to have a humane, humanitarian system where we're tolerant, we're open-minded, we're open-hearted, we have a reasonable process to get in here, we treat people with respect and dignity and integrity. So that's the left-wing position. But all of a sudden, when Bernie Sanders says it, now they're, again, trying to conflate it. He's like Donald Trump. What? Because that's all they have. All they have is smears. So, Bernie, good job addressing it. Let's just make sure that in the future, as time goes by, you continue to address it, and you don't need to walk on eggshells, man. You can go after the people who are coming after you. You're a counterpuncher, but do it for real. Do it for real. You don't need to pretend like, the people who are coming after you in a dishonest way are honest actors, because they're not.